In the world of finance, regulators can sometimes feel a little distant. But in early April 2026, South Africa's Financial Sector Conduct Authority, that's the FSCA, sent an absolute shockwave through the industry with a really sudden, really sharp crackdown. So let's break down what happened and, more importantly, why it matters. It all kicked off with this number, 2.4 million rand. Now, that's the grand total in penalties that the FSCA dished out in a flurry of back-to-back enforcement actions. And this wasn't just some routine fine, no. This was a message, and it was loud and clear. So, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll decode the signal the FSCA is sending. Then, we're going to dissect the specific actions, see how they fit into a bigger pattern, look at the law that backs this all up, and finally, get to the ultimate takeaway for everyone involved. All right, first up, a sharp news signal. You have to understand these moves by the FSCA are not just business as usual. They represent a very deliberate shift, signaling that their tolerance for any kind of unlicensed financial funny business is getting incredibly narrow. And what really makes you sit up and take notice is the timing. We're talking two separate enforcement orders published on April 1st and April 2nd. A 24-hour turnaround like that? That's no accident. That is a coordinated, proactive move designed to make the entire industry pay attention. So, that brings us right to our second point. Let's dissect these actions. Who exactly was in the regulators' crosshairs? And what did the fallout look like? Okay, so here are the two big cases. The first action went after Kanya Zanya Holdings and Azanya Investors. 3 individuals got debarred for anywhere from 5 to 15 years, plus a joint penalty of $400,000. Then, just one day later, bam! A second action hits Aquaman Fund. This one results in 2 more debarments and a much heftier R2 million penalty. So all in all, we're looking at 3 companies and 5 individuals facing some pretty serious music. And this is the part that really hits home. It's not just about the money. A debarment, especially one that lasts 10 or 15 years, that's a career ender. It literally means you are banned from working in the financial services industry for that entire time. The personal cost here is just immense. Now, it's really important to see that these April actions didn't just happen in a vacuum. They are actually the latest chapter in a much bigger, more assertive trend from the FSCA. I mean, just look at this pattern. We've seen them hand out a 6 million rand penalty for illegal insurance, a 9 million rand fine for a forex scheme, and then in December 2025, the FSCA dropped an absolute bombshell, a record-shattering R2 billion penalty against a company called Bankso. When you see it in that context, this R2.4 million crackdown in April is clearly part of a much larger and much tougher enforcement strategy. But here's the other crucial signal they're sending. While that Banzo penalty was absolutely huge, these more recent actions show the FSCA isn't just hunting for the biggest fish in the pond. They're making it crystal clear that even smaller outfits that are trying to get investment capital without a proper license are going to face the exact same consequences. The size of your operation, it just doesn't matter. Okay, so let's get into the legal weeds a little bit. What specific rule do these operators break that brought down the hammer like this? It all comes down to this one section of the law, Section 7.1 of the Financial Advisory and Intermediary Services Act, or FASE Act for short. And the rule is incredibly simple, incredibly direct. You cannot act as a financial services provider, whether that's giving advice or selling products like shares or insurance, without a valid license from the FSCA. Period. End of story. And the risks, if you decide to ignore that law? Well, they compound, and they compound fast. It starts with a direct financial penalty, but if you don't pay that, it can be turned into a civil judgment that gets enforced through the courts. Then comes that career-ending personal debarment we talked about. And as if that's not enough, it all gets publicly disclosed, basically destroying the commercial reputation of everyone involved. The risks just stack up, one on top of the other. So let's bring this all home. What does this aggressive new stance from the FSCA really mean for financial firms, for advisors, and, well, for you? Let's break it down. For any financial firm out there, the message is unmistakable. Licensing is not optional. It's a non-negotiable cost of doing business. For legal advisors, the takeaway is that the FSCA isn't just sitting back and waiting for complaints anymore. They are actively, proactively hunting for non-compliance. And for investors, Your greatest power is simple verification.
And honestly, this quote says it all. The single most effective thing you can do to protect your money is to check the FSCA's public register of licensed providers before you hand over a single cent. It is such a simple step, but it can save you from a world of hurt.
So it's pretty clear the FSCA has drawn a line in the sand. Unlicensed activity, no matter the scale, is not going to be tolerated. Which really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. As regulators everywhere get tougher and more proactive, what's the next frontier for financial compliance going to look like?